Turtle Tracks podcast. This is your host, Brian VanHooker, and I'm here with AC Farley, one of the artists from the Mirage days of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I got to tell you, I'm such a fan of your work. I've been a fan of Turtles like since literally before I can remember. And when I got into the comics, there were certain images I latched onto. Many of them were the covers of the City at War stuff, but for the longest time, I had a poster of that image of the four turtles running against that graffitied wall that just like
Yeah,
burned itself into my brain in the best way. So there's a number of images like yours like that, but that was the one for me that just like made me fall in love with your artwork.
everybody likes that. You know what? That was I did a short story for an anthology book for Mirage when I was first getting to know them, and that was one of the panels in one of the I think it was a 4 or 5 page story. And even when I was doing it for a long time, I would see panels in comics I was working on or other people were working on, and one panel a lot of times is all you need to have a completed idea. And when I was working on that, I thought someday I'm going to use this to make a painting. That panel. Um, and there you go. Day came.
Very
Um,
cool.
it was fun to do. It was in a big hurry though. Everything was in a hurry.
I'm sure.
Yeah, they weren't rushing, in me, but um, I had to turn things over, to keep paying the bills. That was where the pressure came in.
Honestly, I would love to go into your background a little bit because before you were an artist, you were working for the military and everything. Do you mind going over that a little bit? Because it's super interesting.
No, I was an artist in the military. The
Oh, right. I mean, before you were working for Mirage, I meant. But yes, yes, of course.
yeah, I um I'll tell you how I got my job as illustrator in the Army.
Please.
Uh, the the rules back then were you had to be 5'8" tall, and you couldn't be colorblind to be an MP. When I was signing up, they told me there were no illustrators in the Army, but what they meant was that day. They didn't have a job that day for one. So the guy told me pick another job. So I thought, and he was pushing me to go into the Army Intelligence Agency, this security agency called ASA, and he wanted me to. He was pushing for MP, and I thought, well, I could be a cool MP. Um, I'd be justified, and I would, you know, deliver justice to people. Anyway, um, then I got put on holdover after boot camp, and they sent me to do cleanup duty in a Army office, and it was an office full of, guess what, Army illustrators. So I was like, okay. Um, and the only way for me to get my job switched to illustrator from MP was if I somehow couldn't be an MP. So they wanted to measure me and check to see if I was colorblind. And I couldn't say I wanted to be an illustrator if I was going to pretend to be colorblind. So I had to be too short. Um, yeah. So there was a specialist grade soldier at the hospital who was measuring people, and I was squished down so hard. I squished myself down so hard as I could and bent my knees. And I'm standing all screwy. And the guy goes, if you don't stand up straight, you're going to wash out. And I said, I am standing up straight. And he measured me 3 times. Every time I was a little bit different height, but it's always too short. So he goes, Sep, you're going to have to pick another job. And sent me over to the Army Security Agency office. And I talked to a captain there. And I said, he asked me, he goes, you either can go home or you can pick another job assignment. So I said, I want to be an illustrator. He says, well, can you draw? I said, yeah. So he made me draw something right there on the spot from the back of a magazine. And I got about 5 minutes into it. And he's like, that's fine. You're good. And he called up the training age branch in Massachusetts, which is where I am now. That's where I ended up. And got me a job at the training age branch at Fort Devens. And I had taken a little portfolio of art with me to boot camp. And while I was at the recruiting station, I realized I am not going to have time for this. I don't know why I'm bringing this, And so I put a quarter in one of the wall lockers there and put all my stuff in it and took the key with me to Fort Leonard Wood to boot camp. And so they wanted me to send samples to the training aides. And I said, well, all my stuff is in a wall locker at the recruiting station. And they actually got the recruiting station to go open that locker and get my stuff and send it to Massachusetts from Indiana. And that's how I got that. I got started, first real job as an artist. I'd been doing things all along. This and that. High school sometimes would get requests for art from some store or something, and I would do some of that. I was always drawn from my friends.
What kinds of? Go ahead. Sorry.
I arranged in my high schedule so that I would have the entire last semester of high school, nothing but art classes. And then when it got to it, they wouldn't let me do nothing but art classes. They're like, you got to take English or math or something else. And I was like, no, then I'm out of here because I'm all done, So I just left school semester early. And while everybody else is still going to school, I was working on a werewolf comic that I got printed. And that's how I spent that semester. Working part-time jobs and doing werewolf comic. I think back now, now you can learn so much so fast because of the internet and how just clueless I was trying to figure things out. And I wasn't very social. I'm still not. I can pretend I am now, but I wasn't then. I didn't even talk very much till I was like 23 when I was in the Army. And you got to start talking because people will, wonder what's wrong with you.
What kind of work does an Army illustrator do? Like, what were you drawing?
Did cartoons for the instructors at the intelligence school. Like I would do cartoons about different kinds of electronic warfare is what they did there. And I do like they would want a cartoon of a guy doing some kind of radio electronic warfare trick, and they they liked the electronic warfare the army branch has a old crow club, they call it. It's a all or electronic warfare guys. It's like a club, and they like this old crow. They like the crow all the time on everything. And so I would draw the crow as an army guy doing the you know cartoons of them um, for their classes. And then there'd be a lot of stuff, lots of just like grunt work, doing charts and some graphs. Or I had to do flip charts a lot because I was good at doing lettering. And the our post commander liked to use flip charts in his briefings, and I had to work Saturdays sometimes doing that stuff for him. But that was a good, if anybody had ever asked me if I was going to ever join the military 10 minutes before I decided I was going, I would have said, absolutely not. Then 5 minutes later, I was going. I was going, next day, I'm out of here. I lived with 5 other dudes in, it was a house, I don't know what they call it. It was a house, but it's 2 houses in one house, like one side and the other. So it's like a duplicate house. And we lived in one side, like 5 or 6 of us, and every single person would have all their friends over all the time. So the place is full of like 50 people all the time. Got to be really annoying. Somebody kept eating my food, and I got laid off from my. I had a job on a shipping dock, got laid off, and so I was getting paid every week, but not very much. And I would buy some like bologna and bread. I would go have like one nice meal when I got paid at a restaurant, and then the rest of the week I'm eating bologna. And somebody ate all my bologna. I would get to like a Wednesday, and I don't have anything to eat. And then my bed was in the basement under the bathroom, upstairs bathroom, and water. There was a hole in the floor. If anybody slosh water around in the bathroom up there, it would drip on my bed.
Ugh.
So I came down there this last day. I was trying to draw, being really annoyed, and my bed is wet. And I was just like, man, tomorrow I am signing up. I'm getting out of Indiana. I'm just getting out of here. And I don't regret it. I would never suggest anybody else join the military, but it was probably the best thing I could have done for myself. I didn't have any support to, help me get through school, and I have I refused to do school loans or anything like that. I just was gonna find a way to make it work, but then so the Army was supposed to make it work, but then I got out of the Army and found out that the GI Bill doesn't pay for your school. You pay for it, and then they reimburse you. And so I went to one semester, and then I thought that they were paid already at the school. They were like, "Hey, you owe us for this semester, and there's another one coming up." And I was like, I gotta tap out. And I had already been working. I was job shopping, contracting while I was waiting for school to start after the Army. And then so I was just like, I was already getting paid. I was already working, So I'm just going back to work. So I did. Got a job with a government contractor up in New Hampshire called Sanders Associates. Eventually was purchased by Lockheed, which eventually was purchased by BAE Subsystems. It's still ongoing. That company's still going, but it was Defensive Systems Division I worked with there, which was pretty cool because it was about surviving missions, the equipment, because pilots are expensive, they're expensive to train pilots. They want them back. When you go on a mission, they want them to come back. So, yeah. And that was fun job. I turned it into kind of the job I wanted it to be, but I had to manage it a lot. I started out doing pencil drawings for proposal covers that they were doing. Anything I could do really fast that would just give me some kind of, pride in my job. And then kind of got where I got them to, they wanted whatever I was doing, they didn't care as long as I could do it in 3 days, because these proposals are in a big hurry and they're out the door, and they don't want me, they don't want, I was causing a problem because I was doing stuff that other people would want to do too in my group, but they weren't doing it. And honestly, most of them didn't have the chops to be doing it anyway. Like, they were not going to be able to do this thing in 3 days that I was doing. I worked it up from the pencil drawing all the way up to acrylic paintings, like smaller ones. Lots of airbrush to just get it to happen in a big hurry. But it was good. I got really good at it. Rapid iteration. You actually come up with better ideas when there's a little bit of pressure. Not, I'm just leaving a job doing tech illustration that it was so hard taking CAD files, like they're giant file size, like 300, 400 gigabyte files. They're manufacturing CAD to open it up, convert it for 3D, which is different than CAD. And it's just a lot of work, but the payoff is that you get once the models are worked up and you're all set to go, and all you want to do is do the art. It's like a illustration machine, and you never get like one button anything out of 3D, but I had a process down that was color render, and then you could apply a black and white render on top of it, and it would still have a line on it. So it looked photographic, but then when you're trying to see detail on it, it's crystal clear and got it's just so tight because this line is over it that you can't even hardly see. And I really liked doing that job though, and I off and on have been doing that kind of thing for heck, I don't know, since I left Mirage. So 20 years.
How did you find yourself? How did you find your way from working for that first defense contractor to Mirage? Like, how did you first get wind of Mirage? How did it get on your radar?
I got laid off from that job,
Okay.
and so we moved to Chicopee, Massachusetts, where my ex grew up, and we actually bought her family home and moved in there. And to be closer to New York, I wanted to get closer to publishers,
Sure.
And by that time, I switched off. I wasn't trying to do comics. I wanted to paint. And talking like this makes me go off on tangents because why I switched from comics to paint was I went right after the army. I went into Warner Communications to talk to people at DC. Oh, I didn't call or anything. I just showed up and I asked the receptionist I said I wanted to talk to an art director at DC Comics, and she put me in touch with the wrong art director. She sent me up to talk to this guy Gene Light, who was the art director for the Warner paperback division.
Okay.
And he said, "Well, let me look at your stuff anyway." And he did. And he liked my stuff. And he said, "If you'll do some sample art, small samples of what you would do for a paperback cover, I would give you work." And, I'm an idiot. I'm still like stuck on comics. I walk out of there thinking, well, now I got to go, start over and get with the comics guys. And it took me like about a couple of years before it just dawned on me what the guy had just told me was I would give you work, that part.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, never mind comics. I gotta paint. I gotta get painting going on. And I had up till then, I just focusing on drawing. Because I thought, when I was very young, I thought, well, painting's a whole other thing. I need to focus on drawing until I get a lock on that, and then I'll worry about painting. And that's actually the way I even do a painting, is that process. I'll start with a drawing. I think about the tonality and the color later. Don't think about that right away. And and I like to let the paint kind of do its thing. That took a long time to learn. Is I first was trying to force paint to do what I wanted, and it's just stupid. Like using airbrush. Um, it's not a good way to paint. Um, you need to touch it. And if you're airbrushing, if you touch it, you messed it up. And if you make a mistake, now you're kind of photo retouching, trying to, make revisions to something. But if it's just paint, you just paint over it. You can do it over and over again. It's fun and good when you see brush marks. The brush marks are what makes it a painting, and all kinds of different ways to just like I was here's what happened. I was doing all this airbrushing or whatever over here on the art I was working on, but on my drawing board cover, I was smushing paint up like crazy, and the paint was building up, and there was washes of color over other color, and I started doing stuff like, hey, look how that's built up. It's one color over another, and cut the tops off of peaks of paint, and there's like design under there. And or blow dry, lay down a real thick layer of paint and then use a blow dryer. It dries the top faster than the underneath of the paint. So the top does a crack color like dried mud in a riverbed, So there's something else cool that it just does. And I that stuff on my desk, and plus I went to the National Gallery, and there's a walk up to the National Gallery and the giant doors, and there's a Frederick Church painting, and there's huge. It is so freaking big, and when you're walking up to it, you're very far away looking at it from outdoors, and as you walk up to it, you start to see it's giant fist big blobs of paint on that. And it's all blending in your eye when you're standing far away. When you walk up to it, it's just a big old globby bunch of paint. And I'm talking huge globs too, like as big as your fist. And so that's the secret to me is let the paint do what it'll do. Don't fight with it. And then it's fun. And it's, like I said, it's easy to change stuff. You don't like what you just painted, paint over it. Just paint over it. If you have to, You can, if it gets too thick or whatever, just manhandle the heck out of it and scrape it off. Just whatever. Don't be scared to, you know, really wallow in it. I guess. I always like watching Eric Talbot ink, because he's probably the most natural born artist I ever met. And he does wallow in it. When he's inking, he's got ink all over his hands, and he's inking with his thumbs or his fingers, the fingerprints, using it like dual shade.
I
So he's
love
like
that.
Mike Dooney one time, he goes, "Here's my impression of Eric inking." Yeah. Uh, I miss being around all those guys at the studio. That was fun. Um, it was too much fun though. And everybody, me especially, I held on too long. It's too much fun. You're around people that, get your jokes. And you get theirs, you know what they're talking about. Um, uh, and, I'm old enough, so growing up loving comics was actually, you know, you weren't cool. Exactly. And at high school, I tried to get them, like I said, I was trying to get them to pay attention to me and help me with comics, but they wouldn't do it. My teachers would not. They would not. And they didn't have any respect for me wanting to do comics. Um,
When
um,
when you got to Mirage, were you still trying to do comics? Like, had you heard about?
oh, well, I moved to Chicopee, so I'll
Okay.
be closer to, and I was getting jobs, doing paintings for like Asimov's magazine and Science Fiction Book Club and Game Designers Workshop. I was getting work, doing painting, and it wasn't paying great. So my ex had a big idea to monetize me some more by us opening a comic shop. So we opened a comic shop, and I worked in it, served customers while I was doing my freelance work in there. And it was kind of hard for a year. But after things started picking up, I was able to hire some. There were me and my ex and four other guys, um, sometimes four or five other people, but four people who were working the store, and getting as much money as I was getting out of it. I divided the income between us all. So I would get some. I get a share. Everybody got a share, and so one day this frumpy dude comes in, and he's buying some old game art and stuff. Asked me about a painting I'm trying to sell, and the painting is, I didn't want to sell it in the first place, but I need money to keep the store going because I'm supporting a store still at that point. And their science fiction convention from Boston had moved to right in the town next door to me for a couple of years because they didn't want it to be a media con and it was getting out of control for them. It's an old science fiction club. They're like readership. They're not looking for movie hoopla and stuff.
Okay.
Although they aren't all the way against the so I was going to take that painting over to that convention and find somebody to buy it. I needed to get $2,000 for it and to float my boat. And I'm in the store. This guy comes in. I've seen him a couple times in the store. He's a my age guy. He's balding. He's a little chunky. Likes to buy like these $5, $10 pieces of game art that I have in a big box. And he says he wants to buy that painting. I was like, well, I need to sell that painting, but I'm kind of even embarrassed to tell you how much I want for it. And he says, well, how much? And I said, I have to get 2K for that painting. He goes, well, I'll take it. And I was like, I'm thinking, yeah, sure you will. And you know, I said, well, okay. How do you want to proceed? He says, well, will you take a check? And I said, I'll take your check, but you'll have to wait till it clears to take the payment. He's like, hey, that's fine. He writes the check. I'm looking at this check. It says Peter Laird on it. And I'm like, come on. And I went, okay, you can take the painting. But that's how that happened. And then they offered to come to my store and do a signing. And I did a turtle for an ad. I drew one, the first one I ever drew. And they seem simple, but to me, I need to be able to inhabit the characters I'm drawing. And I have to spend a little time up front, just like getting in their skin. And so it was hard. It was actually hard for me to make a nice drawing. But I knew Pete liked all those game art ink drawings, so I did it like I was doing the game art. And then so they came and signed. They saw some other stuff. I had been doing before we moved. While I was still in New Hampshire, I would do my day job, and I was coming home at night and trying to do a comics page per evening. As soon as I got home, I would just like knock out a page of something. I didn't even plan ahead to what it was going to be, but it was usually some kind of thing from one of my comic ideas, Team Dragon Fighters. And I showed them that stuff while they were at the signing. And anyway, Pete came in afterwards and said, did I want to do a comic? And I said, yeah, I'll do a comic. And then he split. I didn't see him again for a month. He comes back and goes, so did you do the comic? And I'm like, I didn't do the comic. I was waiting for paperwork, like some kind of written agreement or something. I said, I didn't do anything yet. He's like, I said, well, okay, I will. And yep. So asked me if I got busy on the book. I didn't ever get an agreement. I just had verbal agreements. I was being really stupid, but everybody, it was me and them too. We were all very excited, and artists were running the asylum at Mirage.
So what was it, like 89 or something that you first met him?
Yeah, 89. Yeah.
So Turtles was already in swing. You must have known you must have known about the Turtles in some degree, or the cartoon was already on at that point, right?
I poo-pooed the heck out of the Turtles. My first kid was about to be born.
Okay.
I was at the hospital. My wife's having a hard time. She's exhausted. They say she's in labor, but she can't like make the leap. She's too tired. So they gave her a sedative to get her to be able to sleep, and told me just come back in a little while. So I left. I went over to a comic store on my way home, and the comic store guy, Ken Dunn, nice guy. He goes, hey, I want to show you this book, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm looking at it, and I was like, wow, this is an underground book. This art is rough. I'm like, I don't know, man. And you know, I don't even like telling this story. I don't even like it, but I was like, nah, I don't know, man. It's kind of rough. And I wasn't, I wasn't getting, excited about it. Um, but look what happens. Uh, anyway, yeah. So my daughter was born, um, the next day. Um, I quit smoking. I smoked cigarettes till that day. Because I was like, I, I felt like my dad used to make me go buy cigarettes for him. I saw him smoking. I think it had a lot to do with me ever even being open to the idea. I didn't smoke or drink or do anything till I was like 20. I was in high school. I stayed away from everything and everybody. I wouldn't mess around with any substances. Um, but after high school, I got, um, like I said, I didn't have any support. I wanted to go to school. I didn't have, and so there was a couple of years where I was nuts. I just was crazy. I was on a very self-destructive path, but um, came around. Like I said, decided to help myself however I could. Join the army. Um,
So that comic he gave you to do, that's 29, is that what that is? That was the one that you got to work
he
on?
didn't even he didn't give that he didn't even give me an idea what to do. He was just like, do whatever. And so I did. And I had asked Kevin had um asked me to do a painting, and I said, how what do you want me to do? Like, how far you want me to go with them? You should I just be, should I imitate exactly what everybody's doing, or can I, you know, have some fun with it? He said, make them your own. So I did. Uh, and I had met all the guys at the studio by that time. And so I wrote the story to entertain them. Um, and, everybody up there liked all the same stuff I did. Um, Japanese robots, Lovecraft, everything. So I just jammed a bunch of stuff like that in the book. Um, and my comic story's in it.
Oh, is it? That's awesome.
Yeah, that's my comic story in the book.
Oh, wow.
Um,
That's short. That's hilarious.
um,
Here's a question for you. Like when you, I mean, you were there early on, but by that point, there already had been Eastman and Laird's art, um, Lawson's, the cartoon, obviously, and then your turtles come on, and they look very different. I'm curious how you found your turtles, if you recall, like the thought that went into it.
well, even though they look the same, like I said, I start trying to inhabit these characters that I'm drawing.
Okay.
Uh, like method acting, I guess. I don't know. And so to me, I know which one is which. When I'm drawing them,
Hmm.
um, they look different to me. Um, just enough, there's subtlety involved, and I'm very up close and personal with them, like they're real in my head. So, um, and I feel like that. I feel like I've been on adventures with them, you know? Um, there's nothing to doubt about them. You can trust them. Um, hard to get that in real life. So,
Yeah.
um, and that's also why people like them. The turtles don't go looking for trouble. React. They react. Um, um,
Did
they're not
you
looking.
did you get to, like, so you met the Mirage guys. Like, when did you start to kind of gain affection for, assuming that you, like, when did you start to gain affection for them? Was it while drawing the book that you kind of got it, or a little earlier? Or
Doing that painting. Painting was the first thing I did.
what was the first painting? Is that something that's public, or is that,
Shell shock,
oh,
shell shock,
okay, that cover's great. Yeah.
and I still was feeling them out, but I think I kind of got solidified doing that painting because
Hmm.
I drew them a lot just getting get ready to do the painting, and um and I was trying to the see them as individuals, but still keep their silhouette. And that's the other thing too. I was never going to make them huge and monstrous because they're I think of them like Danny DeVito size,
Yeah.
Um, they're not monstrous and they're not monsters. They're nice guys. And individual. They are individual. And they don't need colored masks to separate them out. I not not I don't I mean they got weapons. The weapons separate them out. Of course that, you know, as it's gone on, who knows what weapon they might use. They'll all use every weapon. But they still have signature weapons. Um,
Yeah, occasionally we've gotten like bigger turtles, and I kind of like what I love about yours are these like they're these stout little dudes, you
I
know?
want to see eyes too. I want to see any character's eyes. Um,
Mm,
Sometimes I'll draw them with like they're white, um, just white openings in a mask because that's comics and it's fun.
sure.
But I think too that that's where you get a reader or a viewer to engage.
Mhm.
You've got this character looking right at them in the eye. Um, um, Something that I've um, there's a lot of stuff with my personal interaction with people that it's not does not come naturally to me. Like I'm mostly really introspective to a point where it's a fault. And like when we're done talking, after we're done, I'm gonna go over and over what we talked about. And did I, how was I? Did I do okay? Did I say anything crazy? Was I being stupid? You know?
You're doing
Um,
great. I understand.
um, so, you know, um, I I work to make sure I'm looking people right in the eye, like
Mhm.
out buying something at the store. Instead of going through like I did most of my life, I would go through a checkout, really not say a word, don't look at the person, don't really talk to them, get my stuff and go. But then I found out that if I just look them in the eye and put them at ease, like smile and say, hello, how's today, or whatever. And I also carry around this little bag full of trinkets, and I'll hand out stuff like stickers
Okay.
or little badges or pins and stuff. Especially if I see a kid and a mom at a store and the kid is freaking out, I'll try to. I have lifesavers in my bag, and I'll over to the mom and go, "Here's some lifesavers if you want to. It'll help. The situation if you can have them." Um, and if I'm getting coffee, like at Dunkin' Donuts, I will give stickers to the people and later on, this is funny because later on I'm driving by this Dunkin' Donuts. I've been giving them stickers and I start seeing them, they're sticking them on stuff inside the store. And I put them on in my doctor's office. I stick them on the back of his computer monitor and stuff. He doesn't even know they're there. And they don't even know what it is. They have no idea it's me or what it is because it doesn't. It's just my little square altered Earth with got it's a little logo for Altered Earth. It doesn't say Altered Earth. It doesn't have any copyright info or anything on it. It's just a sticker, this little globby square world. Um, and who knows where it came from. It's like my version of Lone Ranger Silver Bullet. Um, but yeah, a lot of my behavior is learned. Um, but I I like things better this way. I like um, in the Men in Black they say people are no damn good. A person can be okay. That's what happens. When
Yeah,
I'm with people, when I'm with people, I love whoever I'm with, but I don't like people. I like persons.
sure.
People are no damn good.
The
um,
next thing you did after number 29, was that 43 with Jenkins?
yeah, I what happened with that was I I was in the down in the production room, and there's like projects stacked, one next to the other down there, and I was looking to see stuff that was being produced and see this one book here is Dead in the Water. Um, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on with this? These guys already got paid and they've done like a whole book's worth of breakdowns and they've got the story, but they're not going to finish it. They had a falling out." So I said, you know what? That's actually that's a lot of work. I'll take that. I'll take what they did, filter it through me, and we'll finish it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's what I did. Um, and I honestly, it worked for me because um, nobody was involved in it after I took it except me. So it was a breeze for me. I didn't have to, um, do anything except take what they did and work my way through it. And it was, I didn't know when I said I was going to do it that it was like 40 pages. It's 2 books worth of stuff. So I was
Oh yeah, it's
busy with
bigger.
that a long time. Um, and I was going to tone it, but then after I finished it, it's like, this doesn't need tone. Um,
The
oh, that issue 29, I took it in to show them before I toned it, and they were kind of desperate for a book. And they were like, it was all drawn on dual shade paper, and I was still going to tone it. I just wanted them to review it before I did anything else with it. And they were like, we'll use it like it is. You don't need to do anything else to it. And I said, well, I really want it to match the other stuff, so I want to shade it. So I said, I'll bring it back tomorrow. I took it home and I laid the pages out all over anything flat in my studio.
ah,
And I took the lighter shade and I went to every page, put the light shade on. Well, every page, one at a time, all around. And then I took the dark shader, did the same thing. Every page, all the way around, all the way. And then brought it back the next day. They were shocked. They were shocked I'm showing up. Here it is. Um,
talked to a number of guys who worked at that period, that 89, that 9, especially 90, 91, where it was like, yeah, we thought there'd be a review process, but there wasn't. They just took it and were like, great, we're way behind. We're just gonna ship it now. Great. Like,
yeah, it was well, we were having too much fun. So
sure.
I'm not,
What was your impression of Peter back then? What was he like?
I I I love both those guys. Um, Pete is so much fun when he wants to be. I know he doesn't feel good now. I don't either. Like we could never have the fun we used to have now.
Hmm.
Um, because we're both red hot messes medically. So um like I can't even travel I can't I'm not good to go traveling around.
Okay.
Um it's hard for me to walk. I have to use cane, and I'm what they call a fall risk, which I think is a good band name, fall risk. Um,
It is good, yeah.
um,
Or at least an album name.
yeah.
It's good.
Um, but yeah, he's a lot of fun, and Kevin I just love him. His enthusiasm and patience, patience, uh, pretty supernatural.
Hmm.
Um, I think Kevin is probably just as well known, maybe more, and than Stan Lee right now.
Okay.
Um, and Kevin stand out in the crowd because he loves art. He loves artists, especially, and he loves fans. He loves them. He returns what's coming to him.
Yeah.
He's honestly sincere about it. Um, yeah, I miss all those guys. I've seen Kevin a couple times recently, um, and we're gonna see each other more um, in the days to come, the years to come. But I just saw him for the first time in maybe 20 years a couple of months ago. So we're kind of reconnecting.
It was the first time in how many years?
20 maybe.
Oh,
Like
wow.
he has I even lost track of whatever was happening to him in his life. I have this thing where I can't function if I'm paying too much attention to whatever the heck else is going on. Like I don't want to know um, what's the most popular comic right now. I don't want to um, be distracted by whatever someone else is doing. And when I was younger, it would like looking at comics would I would learn something or get uh, you know get jazzed by looking at stuff, and I still do. But older stuff and things that I was falling in love with when I was working on learning to draw. But if I look at stuff too much now, it'll sour me because there's this old um well, of course it's old. It's from the Bible. It's one of the King Solomon's um quotes out of the Bible about vanity and how everything is vanity and there's nothing new under the sun. And that the best you can do is ignore what everybody else is doing and do your own thing because that's all you're going to get. Nobody can take that from you. Um, but if like looking at Facebook, like I'm on a lot of comics groups, and as I'm looking just Facebook, I mean, even don't even pick like a subject matter. It can make me um just feel like, man, I am, you know, I don't want to be part of that. you know,
I feel
I
you.
don't, I don't, I don't want to be part of that churn. So gotta back out, stay in my little world, and do my thing. Based on everything I've seen and loved, I just can't get distracted by what's happening right now um, with everybody. Um, so
For those unfamiliar with the Mirage books, or maybe they just need a refresher. So the Mirage books, up until like, the early issues were all Eastman and Laird. Then it kind of went through this phase where every issue was it was like an anthology series where every issue was a different artist. And then starting with number 50, they started the City at War storyline where Eastman and Laird came back to the book to write it. Lawson did the pencils, and from 51 to 62, which is the final issue, you did the covers for all those stories. I'm curious if you remember anything about that period and how you came to be the guy to do those covers.
Um, I think that they had stopped. I was relying on the collected covers because they were telling me that we're just going to keep doing collected books, and I
Oh,
was
sure.
going to do the covers, and it just it's kind of like what happened to me here recently with this tech art job. It just vaporized. They were like, we're not, no, skip that. There's no more covers happening like that. But we're going to do this other thing, and you can do this series of covers. And so I thought, well, that's okay. I'm going to do them like they're a sequence. And so um, I started out on uh, real close up of one of the turtles' faces. He's making a mean face, right? You have a view like right here, and then it backs up till you see them standing over a bunch of dead Shredder Elite, like 4 issues later on the cover.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and we were trying to be on the bleeding edge of computer color, and back when um, people acted like it was a big secret, like it was a national state secret. And if you said, say, hey, what are your process for computer color, and they wouldn't tell you. Um, and as it turns out, it's just Photoshop, and it's just you need to have a knowledge of the printing process and how that works to color a comic. And there's a way to do it, and there's ways not to do it. So got that all figured out, but we were having a time with it. And some people were trying to sabotage us. I'm not gonna say names, but they wanted the work. So we're asking people, how do you do this? And they don't want to tell us because they want us to give them work to color.
Sure.
And but I mean, it's not a secret. It's like if your job was shoe shining and you ask somebody, how do you shine shoes? And they're like, oh, that's a secret. I'm gonna not, you
There's
know.
no way to. You're right.
Um, um,
Do you have a favorite of those City at War covers? Like I love that street sign one. That one's super cool. Like where all their
yeah, I really like
turtles
that one. I like that one a lot.
like a pirate ship or something. There's something very cool about the one guy. Yeah, I love that one.
You know what? I was driving home from Mirage one night, and I had to stop at the light right where you pull into my town. I'm sitting there at the light, and there's one of those neighborhood watch signs right there, and it just went. I went, "Rah." Oh, there you go. That's what to do. Um, those were fun too because I was using mixed media on them. It's an ink drawing that's been colored with acrylic washes, and then there's actual paint built up on it, all textured, like I was talking about on
Yeah.
there. And I really like doing that. I really liked the way those were coming out. My favorite one would be that Shredder Elite that was all red.
Yes. Oh, I love that
Um,
one. Yes.
uh, that was one too. I had that in the can for a long time. And then day came when I was like, this is the day. Here comes that, red rain friggin' Shredder Elite. Oh, he's holding a fistful of turtle masks too.
There's a toy company called NECA. They make these like collector toys.
Oh yeah.
And they
Uh,
just made I'd say that very foot elite. Like it's yours. He's kind of like he's really stout, and there's one where he's bathed all in red, like they did colored. Like it's literally that cover.
Huh?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll have to look for that.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture of it. It's like I would say it's literally that drawing, just that kind of
Wow.
like they're doing.
No.
It's funny. I've spoken to a few of my friends there, and they do these interviews and stuff. And they did turtles recently that were like they look they were like Lawson's art. They were very much Lawson's turtles. And in a recent
Oh
interview,
yeah, yeah. I saw those. Those are good.
they're
Yes.
so cool. And like they did in a recent interview, I saw one of the guys who runs it. Somebody asked him, "Is there any other Mirage artists you'd like to see kind of realized in 3D?" And he had said AC Farley's, and I was like, I would love that because it looks so different than Lawson's. Is that something you'd like to see? Is 3D
Oh,
realization?
I would love that. I would love that. I would
Yeah.
love that. Um, yeah, I would definitely buy those.
The do you know why the book ended with 62 and then volume 2 began? I don't know the answer. I'm just curious. I don't know.
Um, I don't really remember.
Okay.
I there was a lot going on where I was the artist representative for a while.
Okay.
Like so not a good job because everybody hates you then. Uh, you
What
know.
do you mean by art? Like, forgive me. What does that mean? I don't know what that like in-house at Mirage. Like you were.
I was on the management team and I'd have to show up and be, and you know, if anything came up about the artists, or if artists had concerns, I was there to deliver them or take news back to the group.
Okay.
And so, I was always bringing bad news from one direction to the other. And um, sometimes people they'd be mad at like the company or Pete, but they're not going to take it out on the company and Pete. They're coming at me.
Got it.
I know. Like I didn't, I liked, I liked the responsibility, but I, I didn't like it. We didn't have any solidarity. Like we would talk as a group as artists, and everybody would be in agreement. And when we would get in a room with Pete and other people running the place, they would clam up. Couldn't get anybody. So there's a couple times where I'm you know kind of laying down the law, thinking I've got people backing me up, and then no, nothing, crickets. So it was hard. It was hard, especially like I said, I am not really a people person. So um, it might have helped me though. It might have helped me grow doing that job. Um,
You
but
know,
yeah, I'm not. I like drawing.
I understand. So speaking of the to fill in the bodies again, volume 1 stops at 62. Soon after volume 2 begins, and that's when we get that amazing painting cover of the turtles running. Uh, I don't know if there's anything else to say about that one, but again,
Oh,
that's the image.
it switched to color. That's why.
Oh, that makes sense. Sure. Yeah.
That was the first color book.
Yes. Yep. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Um, that was that sounds like an okay idea for like comics are in color a lot. So it sounds like it, but it really wasn't. And I was all for it. Everybody was, but um, it the what I think people really like about the turtles is not it's a combination. I sure it is, but I think one big thing is two guys sitting in their room did something and something good happened.
Yeah.
That's the way my whole life has worked. I do my own thing. I then show it to whoever. I put it out there, and people will like it and ask you to do it for them. But you have to do something first. So if you don't do anything, nothing good can happen. And they put something together, and I mean, carried it to a finish. They had each other to, lean on and cooperate with, and we're having fun. Um, and it somehow they put magic down, and look what happened. Um,
Why don't you
and
work in the color? Like why? Because it didn't last that long. You're right. I didn't. I guess I hadn't thought about that. But once it switched to color for volume two, it only lasted X number of issues. It just wasn't.
it wasn't it wasn't doing it for anybody. Not even, people, not even people at the studio. Where it just felt weird. It
Hmm.
should be um it should be black and white. Um and to just as another thought, I don't like the way things get colored now. It's way too much. I want a comic to kind of, like I said, I might be just a little um out of date. Maybe that's it, or maybe I just prefer a certain look. And I'm going to say that's what it is. I prefer them to be a little simpler the way they're colored and more natural. All this cutting in highlights and stuff, is it making everything look like all plasticky?
Interesting.
I don't like that. I don't like that. That's not, it's being over rendered. Um, anyway, but every comic book is not made for me. So, people also, I don't want to do multiple covers. I don't ever want to do that. I don't want to draw on blank covers, because what if you mess up the book? Now you got to buy another book for somebody. And that happened to me. I was
Okay.
trying I was trying to draw on this guy's book, and I screwed it up, and I'm like, what do I do now? There was no way for me to just, budget and like a happy accident, which in drawing it happens a lot. Make a mistake and go, who cares? You just kind of like work over it. But I couldn't. So I had to go find another book for this guy. He doesn't even know this happened yet either. I I got the new book. It's Chris Parlin. Chris Parlin, if you ever see this, I I messed up your book. That's why I've kept your package for 15 years. I am going to send it back probably this week or next. But it's not going to have a drawing on it. You're just going to get the book back and your other stuff. You know what I did to him? I took so long to send him a signed one of those blue turtle posters. Um, I took so long to sign it and send it back to him that he moved, and he gave me his mom's address. So when I'm getting ready to sign it, it says the address says Donna, you know, Parlin, and so I signed his poster to Donna. So he got it, and he was like, "Yeah, that's actually my mom." And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna send you another one, but I haven't done it yet." And then that was honestly, it was like 10 or 13 years ago. And I have some other stuff from a really nice guy, uh, Stephen Reese, and I've had his stuff. He he wanted me to send stuff to be graded and slabbed at CGC, and I can't agree to that either. I don't want books slabbed, and I mean they're to be read. You got to be able to touch that book,
Yeah.
and plus slabbing them. I had somebody gave me a free, like it's not like a vacuum sealed slab, but you can put a book in it. And I've had this book in it for um 15, 20 years. And I took it out the other day, and the pages are all wavy from being in that thing all this time. So it made them makes the book like wavy. The paper's wavy. Um, but everything I have in the bag, in boxes and bags, it's not wavy anyhow. And you can take it out and look at it.
There's another image of yours that sticks with me. It was the one in the sewer where they're heading up and they're heading up the ladder and April's in there. I'm sure you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's the
Anything
first.
is there anything you remember about that one? I don't even know what that one was for.
That's
I
the first collected cover.
that
That
okay. See, I didn't have those books. I had the collected ones I had are the ones Eastman and Laird did. I'm guessing before those collected books.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Do you
Um,
remember doing anything about that? You remember anything about that cover? Because that's another great image of yours.
that's my two friends modeled, uh, Betsy and Dan Grenier. Um, Dan, uh, he was working out a lot with his friends, so he was built to be Casey. Although when I asked Pete and Kevin one time, tell me an actor or somebody or we know that you think would be a good Casey, and they said I would. You would be a good Casey. um, yeah, except I am not. I am so skinny. My wife's ex-husband is a bodybuilder. He was Mr. Vermont. Um, you know, so
Okay.
he's freaking, you know, buffed up dude. And it's
Sure.
natural, but he pumps iron. He wins. He can win contests. Anyhow, her son is the same way. Um, but guess who's the absolute opposite of that? Me. So uh, she said I on her dating uh site that we met on, it says that she wanted to try something different. So it could be more different than some skinny old dude.
I'm curious when and why you left Mirage.
They were letting everything. They didn't ever want to be a business. I mean,
Sure.
it was thrust upon them, and responsibilities that um, Kevin was more willing to take on responsibility than Pete, um, as far as um, I keep thinking about 5, 10 things at one time whenever I start down this road. Um, I stayed there too long. I wanted to be with my friends. I wanted to. Um, um, I didn't want it to end ever. Just like this thing that's happening to me now. I really liked it. I loved that tech job. I loved my team. Um, Me and one other guy were the original team. There was only two of us, and we gave that company a world-class look like no other. And I'm very proud of it. Um, you know, and same was at Mirage. I like this job. I didn't want it to end. But you can linger too long.
Hmm.
And I at Mirage, we the whole idea was, at one point, when they were really busy the most at Mirage, there was 20 people working there every day, and the you know the management idea was not to rehire anybody or re-engage anybody once someone was gone. So attrition,
Sure.
as people left, the place got smaller and smaller and smaller until um, you know, you can know something. I mean, I can know something, and I know I'm smart. I'm smart as can be, but you know, my emotional content might make me make decisions that I normally wouldn't. Like if there's an emergency and I see someone needs help, And it might be bad for me, but I'm still going to help them, you know. Um, um, and so it just came to a point where, you know, they were trying to button up the whole place and making these really awful buyout deals that were, to me, felt disrespectful. And also, um, I was told if I didn't sign this buyout thing and take this $3,000 for the rights to everything I did, you know, and
Mhm.
I'll never um, see a penny from it. And here's the next thing that's going to happen. If I don't sign this thing and take this money, they're going to bury all my work and it won't be seen by anybody ever again. And they meant it because um, Rick Beach did not want to sign that deal, and he didn't, and he won't. And his entire output for the Turtles is buried, not not reprinted. They're not ever going to reprint it. Um, so they were serious, and I'll tell you what, I am at least that I have that much vanity about my own stuff that I just didn't want it buried. So even if I'm never going to get another thing for it, I just want it out there so people can see it. There's one last thing you need if you're going to do any kind of art, and that's the beholder's share. Somebody's got to see it, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and So at least I view it as legacy, and even if it's not, like, there's no financial legacy, there is a legacy, and I want to, you know, I don't want it buried. Um, so the mission accomplished. Uh, and but it was hard. It was hard to, um, you know, one thing happened. It was like, first of all, I'm leaving Mirage. I'm also getting separated from my wife at that same time, and um, you know, my whole life just kind of went, wow, turned upside down and inside out. And here's something I didn't even think of before I was all alone, was that I had never lived all alone ever.
Sure.
I had never been like myself in a home, and that's nobody but me. I'd always been with my parents or my siblings, and then, you know, my friends, living with my friends. And then in the army, there was always in the barracks, or, you know, then I got married and I was living with my wife, and never alone um, until then. And that was a shock. Um, I asked, uh, I had been on some kind of physical therapy, and I was talking to one of the therapists while I was doing the treadmill about my divorce problems and everything. And I was like, you know, like, I feel so awful, and, you know, I'm so depressed. I don't know what to do to, you know, get myself out of this. He goes, oh, it's going to take 4 years. He goes, it's going to take 4 years, and then you'll start feeling okay. So 4 years later, he was right. I was kind of okay. I'm kind of getting over all this and moving on. Um, but yeah, I the bottom came out of everything for me, and but guess what? I had been on a on an online bulletin board about the 3D programs that I use, and I was showing people on the bulletin board what I was doing, and a guy who worked at Sun Microsystems, big computer concern back when, saw it and asked me if I wanted to do some tech illustration with him. And there you go. That's where I, and then I spent my last $600 to update one of my modeling programs so that I could do that stuff with him. It was like, it's just weird how stuff works. Um, um, it's like right now, I'm going to be 70 in February, and for all intents and purposes, I'm going to retire then. And doesn't mean anything's going to change for me. I'll still do exactly what I do all day. Um, but um, I'm going to limit um, how much I need to render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's. Like I don't want, well, like nobody likes anybody telling them what to do, but um, if I take like I've been talking to people about commissions the last couple of days, and
Sure.
I don't want them to send me money. Like in the past, I've you want to like maybe get half up front or something. And here's my thing. I'll tell you this about artists. If you pay them anything, you're not going to get what you want as fast as you want it. And I'm like, do not send me money. I am, um, you know, I just want to know that there's people interested and tell me what you want, and then um, I'll start it and I'll send pictures, and then I'll keep them up to date as I'm in progress. And if they like it when it's over, pay the agreed price, or don't, and I'll sell it to somebody else. I don't care. um,
How do people get in touch for commissions? Because I'm sure there's people interested.
Message me.
On
Uh,
Facebook, sure.
and if I make a peep about I'm willing to do anything, and it's kind of a problem for me for a while
I'm
because
sure.
I'll get overrun. And that's why I don't want people paying me. I don't want to make a list. I don't want you to expect a win. I'm going to do it. I'll tell you when it's happening, and everybody will be happy. Here's what I want. I want everyone to be happy at the end. So what I'm doing is I'm making little agreements with people that are, there's no catch. There's no catch.
Sure.
It's not, uh, but when I was running my studio, um, um, I had a real freaking big studio in this old mill over in the next town over, but it got condemned. I had to move everything out. Uh, so it all came to my house. So now my house I'm actually fixing this all up. It's been 5, 6 years, and it still looks like we just moved in here. Um, anyway, um,
Would you consider like doing any like comics or covers or anything like that, or just the commission? Like I'm curious if you'd want to do more turtles
yeah,
this point.
I would rather do production work, not personal commissions.
Sure.
But
Is,
um,
is this the first time you've been thinking about drawing turtles in a while? Like, how many years has it been since you've drawn a turtle? Like, is it weird to get back into it?
I draw them all the time.
Yeah,
You, you don't see, you don't see it.
I love
Uh,
that.
um, like I said, they are alive in my head, and um, I mean, that's the reality of it. They are real in my head. So, um, um,
What year was it that you left Mirage? When was that?
I think it was 2002.
Oh, okay, sure, sure, sure.
I'm not really sure. Um, I I don't commit things like that to memory, and I'm real bad with time.
I'm
I
terrible. Too.
I keep everything, the same so that I don't see time passing.
Sure.
Um, no, I would be happy to, I here's the thing: as long as whatever I'm trying to do for production work for like a company, I still can't get anything. Nothing can happen that's gonna, like I said about the blank book thing or the multiple cover things, cover variants thing. I don't want to hear about color cover variants. I don't want to hear about blank books. Um, Actually, I don't. If I did the book and had a blank cover, fine, give it to me. I'll draw on it. You know, um, just have another one ready in case I mess it up.
Sure.
Um, but um, I don't. I am never. I don't want to be involved in any variant covers. You know, people. I feel so bad that I don't know. I don't want to like make people in the industry who are making money with it and surviving thereby. I don't want to insult them. Um, it is. I don't care really what anybody else does. Like I said, but I don't want to ever do variant covers. I don't want people to buy 10 of the same book. You know, it should be more about readership
Mm.
and not like sports card collecting. It's turned into that's actually what happened too. Sports card collecting sort of tanked in the mid 90s because they ruined it but by catering to the collecting market. And then they bought Marvel Comics, Topps bought Marvel and went dead, you know, speed ahead on collectability. And now look at it. Um, there are books with 15, 20 covers. And how's this even work? Can anybody get a, a print on demand is killing it too. The only ones making money are printers, I think. Um, but how's this work? Can a store get their own cover on books they order? Because it seems like that happens.
I
Like,
think so. I know a few people who have done stuff like that, but I don't know the intricacies. I'm not an artist myself, I'm a writer. So like I don't know how that works, but I do
yeah.
know that there are store exclusive covers. Yeah, that is a thing.
Now,
So
see, as I think about that, I think that's kind of cool. If I have my shop still, I'd probably
I know
think,
some. Like I have a friend just to named is Aaron Hazuri. He did an exclusive cover for Second Time Around Comics in place in Vegas. So I know it was like that was their way to kind of like have their
I know his work. That guy's pretty crazy good,
who's that?
Aaron.
He's great. Yeah, he's a talented dude.
Yeah.
I just got one more question for you. I asked this of everybody. It's probably a little predictable, but who's your favorite turtle and why?
Leo, if if he was out in reality, he would have been on the management team. And everybody would have hated him. Like they kind of do when he's trying to, you know, tell everybody what to do. I'll leave you with one last thing. When I was a kid,
Please.
my my dad used to say to me every once in a while, "You think you know what's good for everybody else," and I took it as a compliment, even though I knew it wasn't. And
Not at all.
I thought, yeah, I do know what's good for everybody else, and you'd be smart if you listen to me. Um, um, anyway, yeah, I used to get into him with him all the time. He was he was raised in mountains in West Virginia, went to a third grade in a one-room schoolhouse, that whole thing. And you know, now he's living in Indianapolis with this city-fied freaking prissy, you know, city boy. Uh, he did not get me at all. So uh, yeah, he was trying to string a hunting bow backwards,
Okay.
and I he threatened me with physical violence because I kept insisting, "You're doing that wrong. You're doing that wrong." We were in a Kmart, and we were back near the sporting goods, and it occurred to me, this is like months had gone by. He's still insisting that I should shut up. And I thought, this is our chance. We'll go over to the sporting goods department and ask this guy to show him how to string a bow. Guess what that dumbass did? He's like, yeah, this is how you do it. Backwards. He's doing it backwards. I was like, I couldn't believe it. It took like at least 6 months before, somebody he would listen to told him, no, you're doing it backwards. He never apologized. He never said anything else about it. He just like stopped talking about it.
Well, if I need to string a bow, I know who to turn to now. That's
yeah.
I just want to say thank you again for doing this. Like I said, there's a number of images that you created that are like I remember like my whole life. So I, as a huge fan and admirer of your work, just thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. This is really a pleasure.
Well, that makes having done any of it worth doing. So thank you. And it was real fun talking to you. I'm having fun.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.